That drip in my kitchen faucet ran for almost a year before I finally sat down and figured out what it was costing me. A faucet that drips once every second or so loses roughly 3,000 gallons over a full year. At what most of us pay for water and sewer combined, that works out to somewhere around $100, gone straight down the drain while you sleep. If the drip is on the hot side, your water heater fires up for every single drop, and the number climbs even higher. The fix took me about 30 seconds and one rubber washer that cost less than a stick of gum. I am not exaggerating. The hardest part was finding the right screwdriver in my junk drawer. There is no special skill involved, no heavy lifting, and nothing in there that bites. I am going to show you exactly what is happening inside your faucet handle, why that drip started, and how to stop it for good using tools you almost certainly already own. Once you see how little there is inside a faucet, you will wonder why you ever thought about calling someone. Here is my fix for that dripping faucet. Most people hear a drip and think the whole faucet is going bad. They start shopping for a new one online, or they call a plumber, or they just stuff a washcloth under the spout and try to forget about it. I did that last one for about 3 months before I finally took the handle off and looked inside. What I found surprised me because there was almost nothing in there. Inside a standard 2-handle faucet, the kind with one handle for hot and one for cold, there are 3 main parts. There is a screw that holds the handle on. There is a stem, which is a small metal piece that moves up and down when you turn the handle. And at the very bottom of that stem, there is a rubber washer. That washer is the whole story. When the washer is new, it presses flat against a smooth metal ring called the seat. That seal is watertight. Nothing gets through. But rubber wears out. It has to. Every time you turn that faucet on and off, the washer gets compressed against metal. After a few years of that, the rubber gets stiff. It cracks around the edges. It wears thin on one side. And when it cannot make a flat seal anymore, water pushes past it 1 drop at a time. That is your drip, not a broken faucet, not a plumbing emergency. One tired piece of rubber about the size of a dime. And the reason nobody tells you this is because there is no money in telling you. A plumber does not make a living teaching you to replace your own washers. A hardware store would rather sell you a whole new faucet. So nobody sits you down and explains the 3 parts. I am sitting you down right now. Now, if you have a single-handle faucet, the kind where you push left for hot and right for cold, the part that wears out is called a cartridge. It is a small plastic and rubber unit about the size of your thumb. The cartridge has its own internal seals, and when those seals get old, the same thing happens. Water finds a way through. Cartridges cost a little more than a flat washer, usually somewhere around $10, depending on the brand, but they come out and go in just as easily once you know what you are looking at. The reason I am telling you all of this first is simple. If you understand what is inside, the fix stops being scary. It is not a mystery. It is a screw, a stem, and a washer. Let me tell you why I put that coffee mug under the faucet in the first place. I had been watching my water bill climb for months. Not by a lot, just a few dollars here and a few dollars there. Nothing that would make you pick up the phone. But I am the kind of person who notices a few dollars, because a few dollars here and a few dollars there is how a tight budget falls apart. A faucet that drips once every couple of seconds does not seem like much, but it adds up to gallons every single day. Over a full year, a steady drip can waste somewhere around 3,000 gallons of clean water just falling down the drain while you are asleep or at the store or watching television. You pay for every gallon of that water whether you use it or not. And here is the part that gets expensive. If the drip is on the hot side, your water heater fires up to warm every drop that leaks through. Your water heater does not know the difference between water you are using for a bath and water that is dripping into nothing. It just heats whatever comes through the pipe. So now you are paying for the water and the energy to heat it. Add those together over 12 months, water cost plus energy cost, and you are looking at roughly $100 for one dripping faucet. Some faucets drip faster than others. A fast one costs you more. If you have 2 faucets dripping, double it. That was the moment I stopped ignoring mine. I stood in my kitchen doing the math on the back of an envelope, and I got angry at myself for waiting so long. Every month I had been writing a check to the water company that was bigger than it needed to be, and the whole time the answer was a piece of rubber that cost almost nothing. But here is the part that really costs people. The part that turns a small annoyance into something much bigger. Water does not always go straight down the drain. Some of it runs along the base of the faucet. Some of it sits in the gap between the handle and the counter. If the seal around your sink has worn down or pulled away even a little bit, water can creep underneath and sit on the wood or the particle board below. I have seen kitchen cabinets with soft, swollen floors because a slow drip ran down behind the faucet stem for years without anyone noticing. By the time the shelf started to sag, the damage was done. That kind of repair is not a washer replacement. That is a countertop or a cabinet replacement. And that is where a little drip turns into a bill that makes you wish you had just fixed it. My mother used to say, a house will tell you what it needs if you are willing to listen. A drip is your house talking. And what it is telling you is, fix me now while it is still cheap. I want to take one moment here. For the folks who like having all of these practical fixes gathered in one place, I put together a guide called Grandma's Grocery Playbook. It has more tricks like these, the kind I have been using my whole life. You can find it on my website, frugalfrannie.com. That is the only time I will bring it up. If you want it, it is there. Now, back to the fix. Here is the actual fix, and I am going to walk you through it slowly enough that you can follow along even if you have never picked up a wrench in your life. Step 1. Turn off the water supply to that faucet. Look under your sink. You will see 2 small valves down there, one on the left and one on the right connected to the pipes that feed your faucet. They usually have little oval-shaped handles or small round knobs. Turn each one clockwise until it stops. That shuts the water off to that faucet only. The rest of your house still has water. If your valves are stiff because nobody has touched them in years, wrap a rag around the handle for grip and turn gently. Do not force a stuck valve with pliers because old valves can crack. If they absolutely will not move, you can turn off the main water supply to your whole house instead. That valve is usually near your water meter or wherever the main line comes into the basement or crawl space. Step 2. Open the faucet and let out whatever water is still sitting in the pipe. It will run for a second or two and then stop. Now your faucet is safe to take apart. One more thing before you go further. Put the stopper in the sink or lay a washcloth over the drain. You're about to take out small screws and small parts, and if one rolls into an open drain, you will spend your Saturday fishing it out with a coat hanger. I speak from experience on that one. My late husband lost a faucet screw down the bathroom drain once and spent an hour with a piece of wire trying to fish it out. After that, we always covered the drain first. Step 3. Remove the handle. On most 2-handle faucets, there is a small decorative cap on top of the handle, usually a little colored disc. sometimes marked with an H or a C. Pop it off with a flathead screwdriver or even a butter knife. Underneath that cap, you will find a screw. Take the screw out and set it somewhere you will not lose it. I put mine in a small bowl on the counter. The handle now lifts straight off. Step 4. Under the handle, you will see the stem sticking up out of the faucet body. It looks like a small brass or chrome cylinder. Unscrew it by turning it counterclockwise. Some stems you can turn by hand. Others are tight enough that you need a wrench. If you use a wrench, wrap the stem in a rag first, so the metal jaws do not scratch the finish. Turn it out slowly and lift it straight up. Step 5. Look at the bottom of the stem. You will see a small black rubber washer held in place by a single brass screw. That washer is the piece causing your drip. Take out the brass screw, peel off the old washer, and press a new one into its place. If you are not sure what size you need, bring the old washer with you to the hardware store and match it, or pick up an assorted bag of washers for a couple of dollars and find the one that sits flat and snug. That bag costs you less than a cup of coffee, and you will have spares for years. Step 6. Put it all back together in reverse order. Screw the stem back in hand tight, then give it about a quarter turn more with the wrench. Do not crank it down. Put the handle back on. Tighten the screw. Pop the cap back in place. Turn the water valves back on slowly, one at a time. Turn the faucet on and off. No drip. The first time you do this, it might take you 10 minutes because you are being careful and figuring out which way things turn. That is perfectly fine. The second time you do it, the whole thing is done in about 30 seconds. I have done it so many times now, I do not even think about it. My youngest granddaughter watched me fix the bathroom faucet last spring, and she said, "Grandma, that took you less time than it takes me to tie my shoes." And she was right. It is that simple once you have done it once. If you have a single-handle faucet, the process is almost the same, but the part you are replacing looks different. Instead of a flat rubber washer at the bottom of a stem, you are pulling out a cartridge, which is a self-contained unit about the size of your thumb. The cartridge slides into the faucet body and has rubber seals built into it. When those seals get old, the faucet drips, or the handle gets hard to turn. Here's how you do it. Turn off the water the same way. Remove the handle. On most single-handle faucets, there is a small set screw on the side or underneath the handle. You might need a small Allen wrench to get it out. Once the handle is off, you will usually see a decorative dome or escutcheon piece that unscrews or pulls off. Under that is a retaining clip or nut holding the cartridge in place. Remove the clip, and the cartridge pulls straight out. Now here is the one thing you need to know. Cartridges are not universal. A Moen cartridge does not fit a Delta faucet, and a Kohler cartridge is different from both. Before you go to the store, look for the brand name on your faucet. It is usually stamped somewhere on the body, the spout, or the base. If you cannot find a name, pull the old cartridge out, bring it with you, and let the person at the hardware store help you match it. Once you have the right replacement, push the new cartridge in, put the clip back, reassemble the handle, and turn the water on. Same result, no drip. The whole job is the same idea. Something rubber seals against something metal, and when the rubber wears out, you put in a new piece of rubber. If your cartridge is really stuck in there and will not pull out by hand, most hardware stores sell a small cartridge puller tool for a few dollars. It grips the top of the cartridge and lets you pull straight up without twisting or breaking anything. Worth having if the cartridge has been in there for a long time. One more thing about single-handle faucets. When you put the new cartridge in, pay attention to which direction the hot and cold go. Most cartridges have a small tab or notch that tells you which way to orient them. If you put it in backwards, you will get cold water when you expect hot and hot when you expect cold. It is not dangerous, just confusing. If that happens, pull the cartridge back out, rotate it, and push it in again. Takes about 10 seconds to correct. Now that you know what is inside one faucet, I want you to walk through your house and check every single water connection you have. The bathroom sink, the kitchen sink, the bathtub faucet, the utility sink in your laundry room if you have one, the outdoor spigot on the side of the house. Every one of these works on the same basic principle. A rubber part makes a seal. When the rubber wears out, water gets through. The bathtub faucet is the one most people put off the longest because they figure the water is going down the drain anyway, so what does it matter? It matters because you are still paying for the water and the energy to heat it. And bathtub faucets tend to drip faster than sink faucets because the stems and washers are larger and handle more water pressure. Fixing them is the same process, but you are working behind the handle plate on the wall instead of under a sink. Outdoor spigots are the ones I worry about the most, especially if you live anywhere that gets below freezing in winter. A dripping outdoor faucet in cold weather can freeze inside the pipe behind the wall. When water freezes, it expands, and that expansion can crack the pipe. I have heard stories from neighbors about coming home after a cold snap to find water running out of their basement wall because the outdoor spigot froze and the pipe behind it split. That is not a washer fix. That is an emergency repair. Check your outdoor spigots before the first frost every year and replace any washers that are letting water through. Your toilet is a different setup, but the same idea. If you hear your toilet running after it fills, or if it cycles on by itself every few minutes, the flapper inside the tank is worn out. The flapper is a rubber disc that covers the drain hole at the bottom of the tank. When you flush, the flapper lifts up and lets water rush into the bowl. Then it settles back down and seals the tank shut so it can refill. When that rubber gets warped or stiff, it does not seal, and water slowly leaks from the tank into the bowl. Your toilet keeps refilling to make up for the lost water, and you hear that running sound. New flappers cost a few dollars, and you do not need a single tool to replace one. Unhook the old flapper from the posts on each side of the overflow tube, hook the new one on, and press it flat over the drain hole. Done in under a minute. A running toilet wastes far more water than a dripping faucet. If you have one running right now, fix that before you touch a single faucet. It is the biggest water waster in the house and the easiest to fix. The shower head is one people never think about at all. If water keeps dripping from the shower head after you turn the shower off, the valve behind the wall has a worn washer or cartridge. Same fix, same idea, just a little harder to reach because you need to remove the shower handle and the trim plate to get to the stem. If you have done the sink faucet, you already know the steps. The parts are just behind tile instead of under a cabinet. Once you get comfortable with one faucet, every faucet in the house starts to look the same to you. And it should, because they basically are. I have nothing against plumbers. If a sewer backs up into your basement or a main water line bursts, you absolutely call a professional. But for a dripping faucet, let me walk you through what happens if you call one. They schedule a visit. In most parts of the country, a plumber charges a flat fee just to show up at your door. That service call fee covers their drive time and their truck, not the actual work. Then they charge for labor, usually by the hour or by the job. And a faucet washer replacement, the exact same job I just walked you through, gets billed as a standard repair. The washer they install costs less than $1. You could buy 10 of them, and still have change from a $5 bill. But the total on your invoice will not look anything like $1. That is not because plumbers are dishonest. It is because you are paying for their training, their insurance, their fuel, and their time. All of that is fair. But it is also fair to know that this particular job does not require any of it. This is not a job that needs licensing or special equipment. This is a screw, a stem, and a rubber disc. My grandmother could do it. My mother did. And they never once thought of calling anyone for help. The reason most people reach for the phone instead of a screwdriver is because nobody showed them what is inside a faucet. They picture pipes and pressure and things that could go wrong, and they decide it is safer to pay someone. But now you have seen what is in there. 3 parts, nothing pressurized once the valve is shut off, nothing that sprays or breaks if you are gentle. The mystery is gone, and so is the reason to write a check for something you can handle while the coffee brews. Every small repair you do yourself puts money back in your pocket and teaches you something about your own house. My mother fixed every dripping faucet in our house for decades. She never called anyone. She kept a small jar of assorted washers in the cabinet under the kitchen sink, right next to the dish soap. When something dripped, she fixed it that afternoon. No appointment, no invoice, no waiting around for someone else to solve a problem she could handle with one hand. That is the kind of self-reliance I grew up watching, and it saved her more money over the years than any coupon book ever did. I want to be straight with you here because this is the part most people skip. Not every drip is a washer. If you replace the washer and the faucet still drips, the metal seat that the washer presses against might be pitted or corroded. Over many years of use, mineral deposits in the water can eat into that smooth metal surface and leave tiny grooves. A new washer cannot seal against a rough seat. For that, you can try a seat wrench, which is a small, inexpensive tool that screws into the seat and grinds it smooth again. They sell them at any hardware store, and they work well if the damage is not too deep. But if the seat is cracked or severely corroded, the faucet itself might need to be replaced entirely. If you have a single-handle faucet and you put in a new cartridge but it still leaks, there could be damage to the faucet body. Corrosion or a hairline crack in the brass can let water seep past even a brand new cartridge. At that point, you are looking at replacing the entire faucet. That is still something you can do yourself if you are comfortable with a wrench and some plumber's tape on the connections. But it takes a little longer, and you want to make sure the new faucet matches your sink's hole layout. And if you turn the shutoff valves under the sink and the water does not stop completely, those valves themselves need replacing. I would call a professional for that. Old shutoff valves that have not been turned in 20 years can sometimes leak or fail when you try to operate them. And if a supply line is involved, you want someone who can handle it quickly if something goes wrong. The rule I go by is this: if the water is off and I can see what I am working on, I do it myself. If the water will not shut off completely, or I cannot see where the leak is coming from, I call someone. Knowing when to stop is just as important as knowing how to start. There is no point in proving something to yourself at the cost of a flooded kitchen. Pride does not mop up water. Here is what I want you to gather before you start: a flathead screwdriver, an adjustable wrench, the kind with the little wheel that opens and closes the jaw, a rag or an old washcloth, and a bag of assorted faucet washers from the hardware store. If you have a single-handle faucet, check the brand name first. Look for a name stamped on the body or the handle. Common ones are Moen, Delta, Kohler, American Standard, and Pfister. Each brand uses its own cartridge, so you need the right one. If you are not sure, pull the old cartridge out and bring it with you. The person at the hardware counter can match it. Everything you need should cost you less than the price of a fast food lunch. Set aside 1 hour this Saturday, not a whole day, 1 hour. Start with whichever faucet drips the worst. Follow the steps I gave you. When you are done with that one, move to the next. Then check your toilets. Lift the lid off the tank, flush, and watch the flapper. If water keeps trickling into the bowl after the tank fills, the flapper needs replacing. Then walk outside and turn on every outdoor spigot. If any of them drip after you turn them off, add them to the list. By the end of that 1 hour, you will know more about the plumbing in your house than most homeowners learn in 20 years. And you will have saved yourself money every single month going forward without spending more than a few dollars total. Write down which faucets you fixed and what parts you used. Keep that note in a drawer or taped inside the cabinet under the sink. I keep mine on a small index card tucked behind the pipe. It says which faucet, what size washer, and the date. The next time something drips, I do not have to figure it all out from scratch. I just check the card, grab the right washer, and I am done before the kettle boils. If you live alone, this matters even more. There is nobody else in the house to notice that slow drip behind the bathroom door or to hear the toilet running at 2 in the morning. You are the one who catches it, and you are the one who fixes it. The good news is you now know exactly how. Every small fix you do yourself teaches you something about your house. You learn where the shutoffs are. You learn which way things unscrew. You learn that most things that seem complicated are really just a few simple parts doing a simple job. And the next time something goes wrong, you do not panic. You just take a look. 1 wrench, 1 washer, and a few minutes of your Saturday. Tell me in the comments which faucet you fixed first and how long it had been dripping. I know some of you are going to find drips you have been walking past for years. Do not feel bad about it. I walked past mine for 3 months before I finally put that coffee mug under it and faced the truth. If this was useful, share it with someone in your family who pays their own water bill. This is the kind of thing everybody should know how to do, but nobody sits you down and teaches you anymore. The people who raised us fixed what they had and made it last. They did not wait for someone else to handle it. Now you know how to do the same. If you liked this, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. I have got more of these coming. The kind of simple fixes that save real money and do not need a single phone call to anyone.